Welcome to Life-Changing Challengers, the podcast where passion meets purpose. I'm Brad Minus, your host, guiding you through stories of transformation and triumph, from endurance feats to overcoming adversity. Our guests defy the limits and inspire action. Ready to ignite your desire and incinerate your barriers? Join us. Your journey to the extraordinary begins now. And we're back with another episode of Life-Changing Challengers. My name is Brad Minus, and I'll be your host. And today, I am extremely lucky to be able to have a conversation with Mr. Luke Fernandez, who is a personal development coach. Luke specializes in helping people who have struggled with depression or a lack of self-confidence throughout their lives. He's struggled with a little bit, and he's going to tell us his story. And it's really an amazing story. So I think you're going to be happy hearing about it. So welcome to the podcast, Luke. How you doing today?
Thanks, Brad. I'm doing awesome. I'm happy to be here and ready to make an impact.
That's what I'm talking about. And like I always said to all my audiences, listen, you might not resonate with everybody, but most likely you're just going to find that one little nugget, just that one little nugget. And if you get something out of it, it's a win for all of us. So Luke, I ask this question of every single guest. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just tell us a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up, what was the complement to your family, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, all that stuff, who you lived with, and what was it like growing up where and when you did?
Perfect. Born and raised in the suburbs of the St. Louis, Missouri area. My parents, starting real young, my parents got divorced when I was 4 years old, and that was very impactful on me. I think that's where, looking back, a lot of my mental health and self-confidence issues first started. Even though I was so young, it was very impressionable. So I ended up living with my mother in a single-family household with my sister. And then I also have a half-brother, half-sister from my dad's previous marriage and a stepsister and stepmother from my dad's later marriage. And then the whole family's around. We got a big Italian family on my mom's side and then a smaller Spanish-based family on my dad's side. Everybody in the St. Louis area. There's a few out-of-towners, which was always cool to maybe go visit them if we had the chance. And then growing up, like I said, with my mom's single-family household, she did everything she could to raise us pretty well. We had visits with our dad every other weekend or so, and then that kind of lessened a little bit as we got older by own personal choices. And for me, not having my dad as present, I took it a different way than I think a lot of people do. Now that I'm a father, we'll touch base on this later, but I just became a father almost 10 months ago. My boy's almost 10 months old, and that came after 6 years of trying to get pregnant. So we got a lot of stuff to touch base on, and I'm excited to get to it with everybody.
Oh, congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank
you.
You.
A little boy?
Yes. A little boy named Franco.
Franco.
Yeah.
Love that. Good, strong name.
Yes.
I don't know. Would you consider that more Italian or more Spanish?
It is. It's right on the verge, but more Italian.
All right. Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, it's got a little mobbish thing. Yo, Franco, come on over here.
Yep.
Put that diaper down. You don't need it no more. Anyway, just kidding.
Funny. That's great.
Yeah. So that's great. So did you do play any sports in high school?
So not in high school. I did bowling in high school. Before that, I played hockey. I played hockey and baseball, mainly roller hockey. I tried ice for one season, but I wasn't a great skater. So I got out of that and right back to roller hockey. I really enjoyed it. My mom was a coach of a couple of my teams. And it was so much fun. And then as I got older, the rules got more structured and I was more of what they call the enforcer type player. I was also great at scoring, but I also loved hitting people and protecting my teammates, if you will. And things got too strict for my liking. And reality, what I look back on now is I just didn't like rules too much. And I like to push boundaries. But it was also that one of my weaknesses is I gave up when stuff got too hard, which later transitions many times in my life where I've developed a strategy to build myself up by doing hard things. And then in high school, again, my mom, she did so much for us. She started the bowling league at my high school because I loved bowling so much. So that was pretty awesome. We had 4 teams our first year, and I think by the year I graduated, we had like 7 teams.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that was really fun, really great time. And then after that, I wasn't in sports anymore. I did hacky sack and like wiffle ball and
Yeah.
stuff with friends, but that was about it.
Yeah. So did you go to school? Go to college?
I went to community college for a year and a half.
Okay.
School just wasn't my thing. Looking back now, like I believe I'm dyslexic. I have to read things multiple times over and over to remember them. And again, I gave up reading because it was hard. Well, now I've learned that if I actually just try to do it and do it repeatedly every day, I actually don't have to read everything 10 times over, and my mind starts to comprehend it a lot quicker. So it's just so many lessons along my life that I learned if I just can stick it out one more time, one more day, it actually turns out to be an asset for me.
Excellent. So what happened after that year and a half? What did you do?
I just went to work my first job was at a grocery store while I was still at high school. And then after that, I actually worked at Toys R Us, the toy store, which was actually more fun than it was probably as fun as you think it would be.
Of course, it's a toy store.
Exactly. So I unloaded trucks primarily. And while we were doing that, well, sometimes we got to test out some of the new toys, like the electric scooters when they came out and those type of things. So, and we were in the store by ourselves at 4:00 in the morning. So it was quite fun, actually. And then I went on to a warehouse job as I got a little bit older and did that for 6 years, I believe. And I moved into another warehouse job after that. I actually like being in the warehouse environment once I embraced being more physically active and looking at the job as a workout along with work. So,
oh yeah, no, believe me, I know. I worked for UPS for one summer in the middle of a college semesters, and I had to do it as an unloader. These guys would come to work, and they had weight belts on, and they had these big giant boots on and sweats and the whole bit and weight gloves, and it was amazing. And that's exactly what they did. That's their workout. 6 hours of moving big heavy things. So I get it. I get it. Because I lost a lot of weight and like gained a lot of muscle doing it. Mm-hmm. I just didn't like it. So you're working these jobs, and where did you start figuring out that you had depression, or where did that diagnosis come from?
So I believe it came on pretty early. So I don't know how common it is around other places in the world, but at least here in like St. Louis and my school, particularly when my parents got divorced, I was put into like a group of divorced kids with the counselor. Not to say that I was depressed then, but I almost think that by them putting us in the group, it made us think that there was something maybe not right with us. Because when my parents got divorced, my sister and I thought it was because of us. And I think that's actually more common than people think, is kids think their parents get divorced because of them. I don't think that's why they did now, but back then I did. So they put us in this group, and we're surrounded by other people who come from divorced homes. And I don't really remember anything from the group. I just remember being in that group with a counselor. So after that, I think within 2 years from that, I started going to like therapy counseling outside of that because I had major anger issues when I was younger, from small child up until not too long ago, probably about 28, 29 years old. I had very bad anger issues. So I started going to like a therapist for that. And I remember she would tell me things like, just grab a pillow to scream into that if you need to, or squeeze a Nerf ball, something like that. That's what she would tell me to do. And none of that really helped. And I realized like every day and so probably around teenager, like 13 years old, I felt really down about life. I just didn't like it. I would look towards the future and be like, what is the point? What's the point of waking up, going to work, seeing as that's what my mom did, my dad, and then every other adult I knew, like they go to work, not necessarily fulfilled or a job they love. And then they come home and they have to do all the housework and cook for us and take care of us and extracurriculars. Or just back in my day, we used to just ride our bikes all over the neighborhood, rollerblade, just hang out. And then we'd come home eventually sometime right around dark or a little after. And that's how it was, man. I miss them days.
Yeah, I am with you. I'm with
Yes.
you. In my I can't tell you the Saturdays that my mom would just like, get out, get out of
Right?
the
Yes,
house, go with
exactly.
your
Like,
friends.
yeah, you need
And
to leave.
yeah,
You're tearing the house up. Yeah.
and when the streetlights came on, you better be home.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
it. That was it. No ifs,
Yeah.
ands, buts about it.
Hmm.
So no, I get that. And I miss that. You know what? And I miss seeing the kids do that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
out here we've got kids, but they're all inside playing
Yeah.
video games and stuff. But yeah, I'm just looking at that. All right, so you got to that point. So let's talk about, because you've got a big story about losing weight. Where did you realize that you were getting a little bit overweight?
Yeah, definitely. So I think I realized it when I was about in 8th grade. I started
Oh,
putting on, yeah, it was pretty early. So it was right around when I quit playing hockey and baseball, the more active sports. And so not only was I not being active, but I was also at home more. And at home, I had what was convenient, which was Little Debbie was my best friend. I love Hostess snacks, frozen pizza, like fish sticks, chicken nuggets, just anything quick, easy, candy, soda. We didn't really know any better back then. My mom didn't know any better back then. And then that's just what it was. And I realized the depression. And even when I had joy and happiness, I had frustration, anger, anxiety, I expressed my emotions with food. It was comforting to me. Some other people find comfort in the love of a family member or a dog or a book or nature. For me, it was food. That's all that mattered. That's how I expressed everything. And primarily the sadness it made me feel good. Give me that quick dopamine, that quick rush, have a Little Debbie snack, and I'd feel real good for a second. Go play a video game or sit and watch TV. And then it just kept progressing from there. So 8th grade, I knew I was putting on weight. I went from like a kid in 6th grade where the elementary schools merged into the middle school and a bunch of girls liked me, to being in 8th grade, chunky and overweight. And it didn't seem like any girls liked me. And then going into high school, did the bowling, but let's be honest, it's not very
yeah.
active. And I knew I was overweight and I would get made fun of for it in front of my face, behind my back. And my way of dealing with that was getting in a lot of physical altercations at school. I had weights, so I would push it around. Unfortunately, that led to a lot of different types of struggles. And I was always defensive because I didn't feel good about myself, because I don't know how you can when I weighed 280 pounds and I'm 5'8". So
Whoa.
that's a lot of weight to have
Yeah.
on 5'8" frame. And that continued like through high school, probably senior year. And then my first year in college, again, walking around college, not doing good in the classes, not knowing what I wanted to do with my future. I just wanted to, at that point, I was just like, I just want to get somewhere and make money. I don't want to be spending money. I don't want to be sitting here at this class where I'm not learning anything. I'm also smoking cigarettes at that time, eating junk. My lunch usually contained a vending machine stop for a couple bags of chips, a candy bar, and a Mountain Dew. Then on the way home, I'd get a candy bar, an orange soda, and a pack of cigarettes. And after college, even though, because I made it a year and a half, and after that, I worked at the grocery store, I worked a warehouse, I worked a car wash before that warehouse. Well, at the car wash, there wasn't a lot to do, so it was just smoking and eating. Yeah, and it just spiraled, and it just went out of control without even realizing it. Like I wouldn't say I didn't know, but I wasn't cognizant that I shouldn't be doing that. Like it's not right to eat that stuff and to just be smoking and just be living in an endless cycle of like despair. Everything was just sadness and anger for me. I went straight to anger so quick. The wind blew the wrong way and I'd get so mad for whatever reason. And that continued until I was right about 19, 20. And then that's when I started my weight loss and fitness and health journey.
So where was what's called the aha moment that you turned the corner and said, this has got to stop?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. So one of my friends at the time was dating this girl, and we all hung out for a few months. Her, him, and I, and some other people got back into street hockey and stuff. So it was a cool group of friends to be friends with. And then her and I had gotten close as friends over that time, just as we did with everybody else. Well, that guy decided, and him and I weren't real good friends. We were like acquaintances. I'm going to preface with that. He broke up with her on Valentine's Day. She Yes, she came to my work when I was at the car wash crying to me, telling me he broke up with her. And I knew he told me he was going to. And so, okay, she comes, she's crying, whatever. She leaves, and then he shows up. That's funny. He didn't know she was there, but he thought so. A couple months go by, her and I keep hanging out. Turns out I like her. Oh, wait a second. No, I get this feeling one day her and I are at a beautiful scenic outlook on a hike on a bluff that overlooks a river and trees and the sky. It's just beautiful. And I'm sitting back and she's on the edge of the cliff and I get this weird feeling in my stomach and I'm like, what is this? This is strange. Okay. And I'm like, I think I love her. I think I love her. That's strange. Okay. So after a few days, I'm like, okay, I love her. I realize that. And I'm like, well, she's not going to want to be with a huge fat guy like me. So I need to change that. And
Always the girl.
Yes,
Always
the girl. Yes. Whatever it is, if it can jumpstart you, use it. But for me, it was that. And it was just the thought. We weren't an item. We weren't a pair. We weren't anything. She never said anything about it. But from that moment, like it hit me and I was like, okay, I got to lose weight. And I didn't know how. I just drastically cut the amount I was eating and what I was eating and started moving my body.
Okay. Yeah. So where did you start? What was the moving of the body first?
Yeah. So it was just my mom, I don't know, years ahead of time had bought me a Total Gym, the one that Chuck Norris is on in the infomercial.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm in my basement gym right now, and it's right here next to me. I still have it. It's probably been 20 years that we've had it. And that's what I started moving on. I went in the spare bedrooms, or no, I think I brought it to my bedroom, set it up, and I just started using it. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I saw Chuck do this, so I'm going to do this. Literally, that's what started as my exercise routine.
Oh, then, very cool.
Yeah. And then I would just go for walks around the neighborhood. And that's when I was working a warehouse job where I actually wore a pedometer to see how much I was walking. Right. I was walking on average 15 miles a day at the job. And then by that time I had gotten a gym membership and I'm like, well, I think to lose weight, you should just do cardio. So I would just walk on the treadmill or on the elliptical or the bike. And I would watch a movie or a hockey game and I would take it easy during the show or the hockey game. And then during commercial breaks, I would go hard, like run or sprint on the bike or something like that.
Yes. Yes. Listen, I've got about 15 people on my roster and they always talk to me about, hey, I'm always telling them, hey, get it. Here's a couple of like easy things that you can do to put extra strength, stretch, whatever. That's exactly what I tell them too. Mm-hmm. While you're sitting down with your significant other and you're watching something, when the commercials come on, do these stretches. Yeah. When it comes back off, go ahead and sit back next to your girl. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I do that. That's amazing that you said that. I think that is so cool.
Yeah. I think what you do, what you have them do, like it's easy enough. So it's not like a huge burden for them to get up and do it, but like it's something and it gets the heart rate going a little bit, keeps them a little limber, a little flexible, feel better too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know if you read anything about me, but I have an endurance coach. So I coach people that do marathons and ultra marathons and Ironmans and all that stuff. And the problem that I have is they never spend time for recovery. And that's what I tell them. That's when I use them. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, that makes so much sense. I just put my foam roller over here. When the commercials come on, I zip back and forth. Yeah. Or if I'm having a conversation, I'll just do this. And I'm like, yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah. And
but that's why I was so excited when you said that. Yeah. Hey, when the commercials came on, I sped it up. That's perfect. So you were doing intervals.
Yeah.
And you didn't even know it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, that's awesome.
And so, and then the diet part of that, like I said, it went from frozen pizzas and junk food and straight nothing but that for years and years to salad, grilled chicken, apple, veggie tray. That was it. Again, like I didn't know really what I was doing. I just knew I think that stuff's healthy from what I've heard. So that's what I'm going to do. Like I cut out ranch dressing on my salads. I was using Italian dressing because I think that's better. I didn't know anything back then. I just knew I think this stuff is right from what I've heard. So this is what I'm going to do. And
what kind of gym was it? I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
What kind of gym was it that there wasn't like some other personal trainers or anything around?
So it was Anytime Fitness, which
okay.
Yeah. So it's usually like the owner's the only person there. Sometimes they're a trainer. And that guy did help me he helped me out with like the working out. He was like, hey, like you should probably start doing some resistance training. And so he had me doing like lightweight, high rep stuff in the beginning. And I even asked him about, once I lost all the weight, I had all the extra skin on my stomach. And I was like, so anything we can do to tighten this up or do about this? And he goes, oh, the old smiley face. Yeah, not so much. Like without surgery, it's going to be pretty hard. So he did help me a little bit, but back to like the first 2 to 3 months, I lost between 40 and 50 pounds. Like it came off pretty quick. And then I think eventually a year and a half was about when I had lost the total of 143 pounds. So I got down to 137 pounds, which was too small without realizing it. Again, my sister pointed it out to me. She's like, your neck looks pretty small. Like you look sick. And I'm like, no, I don't. Me used to being so overweight, I never looked in the mirror. Literally never looked in the mirror when I was big because I didn't want to see myself. Even after losing the weight, I still didn't look in the mirror because I didn't want to see myself. Because even now, this is 14 years later, I still have to remind myself, like, you can look in the mirror. It's okay. Because I still have, I don't know if it's body dysmorphia or just some mental blocks going on from when I was overweight. So I say that to say I finally went and looked in the mirror and I was like, oh, she's right. I should learn how to like put on muscle and healthy weights and gain a little bit back. And so that became the next phase in my health journey, essentially.
So now I'm curious, those first 2-3 months and you started to lose weight, how was your mentality at that point?
That's a good question. I think back on it, I was still an angry and frustrated and sad person. I was happy that I was seeing progress in my body. It's the only thing that I've ever stuck to. I used to quit everything that seemed hard. Losing 140 pounds is not easy.
Not even close.
At all. Dealing with overcoming food addiction is not easy. And so the mindset, that really took about not until like 7 years later, where it got better, but I would still get so mad at the flip of a switch. I would still, like, if my shoe came untied, I'd get mad, even after the weight loss. The first date, so that girl who I fell in love with and lost the weight, she is now my wife.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, we're going on 11 years this year.
Oh, so, congratulations.
Thank you so much. But our first date came a few months into my weight loss. So I had lost 50 pounds by then or so. And we had gone to the St. Louis Zoo. It's an awesome zoo. It's always very crowded. Here I go, getting mad that I can't find a parking spot. Literally on the first date with my now wife. She's crazy for sticking with me after this. I'm getting mad. I'm like wrenching the steering wheel. I'm punching the roof. I'm yelling. I'm cussing. We're both smoking cigarettes. She's like chain smoking, thinking, oh, do I need to call my brother to get me away from this dude? Right. Of course, I didn't know all that then. So eventually we find a parking spot. We go to the zoo. No, we didn't. We actually went somewhere to go eat, and we didn't go to the zoo that day. That's right. So the mindset was still not great. And like I said, that came like 7 years later once I started listening to podcasts. And I came across a financial podcast and then got into like business and then mindset. One of the first ones was probably something with Tony Robbins. He's, of course, the biggest guy in the industry. Right. And then so I listened to a bunch of his stuff and then some other guys. And I was like, whoa, this is weird. I can like not feel like this. Like I can choose not to wake up and be negative and angry and look for the problem. I said I used to like physical altercations. Like I used to look for it. It wasn't around, but I would find it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, I can think differently. I can choose to think in a different way. I can choose to try to be positive. I can choose not to be mad. I realized I had a choice in everything. And everything in my life comes down to the choices I make. Even if it seems like it was totally out of my control, I still have the ability to choose how I react to the situation.
That is so true. And you can go all the way back to when you said that you decided you were putting ranch dressing on your salad. Now people sit there and there's some times when I'll go through some sort of challenge, some diet, to experiment or something. And they'll be like, oh, well, you can't have that. And I'm like, no, it's not that I can't. It's that I choose not to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, you can't have that. It's not that I can. I can have it all I want. I'm a free American human being. I can have whatever I want. I just choose not to.
Yeah.
So that is a perfect example of that you decide that you had come up with that realization that no, I can choose not to be angry.
Yeah.
I can choose not to wake up depressed. That's great. That is exactly what we need. And you did it on your own. You didn't have some therapist telling you. It was through your research. So that's fantastic. Where did you decide that, hey, you know what? I can take what I've gotten and I can help other people. Where did that come in?
Yeah, so this is still years down the road. Like it took me years. Like I knew I could make the choice, but obviously when you do something for 20 plus years, you can't just turn it around in 20 plus days.
Right.
So it still took years, and it still does. Like I have to be vigilant and proactive in the way that I approach each day to get my mental health and my frequency my to a higher state, a higher level. So each morning, like I have a routine, quote unquote. I don't call it a morning routine, but it sets me up. When I miss one of my routine steps, I can tell I'm a little more edgy that day. I'm a little more quick-minded to jump to a conclusion or what have you, or a little less patient. And so it's over time. And then my brother, half brother, very successful in the real estate world. He's always been concentrated on his health and fitness. I've always looked up to him. He's 11 years older than me, so he's quite a bit different. We've never been super close up until about 5 or 6 years ago when I started getting into the self-development space. Reached out to him, and he kept saying, you got to share your story. You got to share your story. Like people can be inspired by your weight loss, your mental health improvement, your successful marriage, all that stuff. And I'm like, no, like, I don't want to do that. Like nobody can learn from me. It's all the self-doubt that I still carry with me from when I was younger, that a lot of us carry with us. We don't think that somebody can benefit from what we have to say. But as we talked about before, if one person hears one thing and they can apply it to their life, which is what I did with Tony Robbins, Trent Shelton, there's a bunch of guys that I would listen to, and they just say one thing, and that's all it's got to be, and you apply it to your life. And so finally, I took action about 2 years ago when my brother kept saying, share your story. So I just started sharing some stuff on social media. And it's funny going through the weight loss and then putting on some muscle. And I've been up and down, and I still get called fat. I still get called skinny. It's like whatever, like this stuff doesn't bother me anymore, where back in the day, I would have gotten pissed and probably broke my computer or my cell phone or something when I saw it. And then so I just started putting stuff out there. And then I'd get the message or the comment from somebody who knew me a long time ago. They're like, man, the way you turn your life around is really inspiring. It's awesome. It's motivating me to try to get better. I'm going to start working out. Or I have people that reach out to me now and they want to stop drinking. So they're asking about ways that they can do that, or they want to stop doing like hard drugs. And so I'm like, okay, give me a million hateful comments. I don't care, because that one message right there means more to me than all of that. It carries more weight than all of that. And so I started, like I said, 2 years ago, but the mental health and depression, it's an ongoing thing. It's an ongoing battle. So I faded away, came back, faded away. And then last year I started back up again, like in January, when I knew we were expecting our son. And then, so my son was born 6 weeks premature in June of last year. Thank God he was okay. He came out completely fine. We'd spent some time in the NICU, dealt with all that. But a month and a half previous to him being born, so sometime in like April, I got really down really bad. I had just left the gym. I go to the gym in the morning. That's how I like to start my day. I literally walked out of the gym from a great workout, and like as soon as I opened the door, just a wave of darkness came over me. And there was a bunch of fear, worry, doubt, anxiety, like, oh no, my son's coming. After all this time, we tried to get pregnant for 6 years. So there was a lot of stuff with that. With everything was racing through my head. My dad not being there. I don't know how to be a good dad. I want to be present. How do I do that? How do I love him? How do I show him how a man should be? should be strong, but also open-hearted and caring and kind. Just all that stuff went through my head. I'm sure a lot of future fathers experience that. But it hit me really hard. I don't know if I shared this with you actually, Brad, before, but so I'm supposed to go to work that day. And I get in my car and I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can be a dad. And I don't think I can live anymore. So I was going to drive to a park that has a boat ramp and make sure I had my seatbelt on still, so it would just be harder for me to get out. And I was going to drive into the river.
Oh, wow. What stopped you?
There was some divine intervention. I believe it was God. I've always had a on and off relationship. If I believe, if I don't. I think what I believe in as God is a little different than what a lot of people do. But I was on my way to the river. I was on my way, literally praying, God, I'm sorry I can't do this. I'm sorry I'm doing this to you, to my family. Please let them know I love them. Please take care of them. There's one entrance to the park I was going to, and there was construction being done. It was completely blocked off with barricades and orange barrels. I couldn't get in. So I went to work. The next morning, I talked to a guy at the gym who I've seen in there a bunch, who I knew a little bit from. He was a friend of my brother's. We never talked before. And I was like, I'm going to go talk to this guy. I feel not great about life, so I'm going to go talk to him. It was weird. God again maybe showed up. And I told him the situation from the previous morning. And he said, so you're telling me you were going to end your life, and on your way to do that, you prayed to God to take care of your family? I said, yeah. And he said, and he made sure that you were still here to take care of your family. And it didn't hit me until he said that. Of course, I'm in the gym and I break down. Got to hide my face, crying in the gym.
Yeah.
And it was basically from that moment, I was like, okay, I'm the one that has to take care of my family in every aspect. I have to be a better example for my son. I have to show him my struggles, show him my successes, show him the work that it takes, show him how to be a good man, a strong man, a loving man. And I believe not the real reason, but the secondary reason that I couldn't get to the park that day is because it's my purpose to help other men who might be struggling in the same way, whether it's with their weight or their mental health and depression. So that's why I am dedicated to sharing everything.
You know what? Damn you, Luke. God, man, this is awful. I'm not supposed to do this. No, that was powerful. That was very powerful. And I really appreciate you sharing that with me. Wow. So you still talk to this guy?
So like I said, it's real sparingly, right? I talked to him 2 weeks ago. I think I saw him in the gym and talked to him because my time has adjusted. So I'm usually out by the time he comes in, but we ran into each other again.
Oh, all right. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And he saw that story comes right out of that joke. You know about that joke? The guy sitting in his house and the flood comes and he goes up to his roof and guy comes by in a boat and he says, hey, jump in and I'll save you. He goes, no, the God will provide. And then the news chopper is coming up and the news chopper looks at him and points a flashlight down and sends him down a ladder and he says, hey, come on in, we'll save you. And he says, no, he says, God will provide. And then a guy in a raft comes by and he says, jump in. He says, no, God will provide. Well, the guy has ended up drowning. He gets up to the pearly gates. He looks at God and he says, I thought you would provide. You would save me. Why didn't you save me? He says, what are you talking about? I sent you a boat. I sent you a raft and I sent you a helicopter. Yeah. What else do you want me to do? Yep. That is, you literally just proved that in a much more emotional way, but I need to take something like that to turn us around and get us smiling again.
Yeah.
So that is that's the epitome. It says, you need to help me make sure you take care of my family. Well, you know what? Not me, you. I'm going to block this off. And that's how we're going to go about it.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story. Yeah. So you come in and then you realize your purpose, that it's there for you to help other people. So where did you come up with Anomaly?
So Anomaly actually came a few years ago. I was talking to a friend who I worked with at the time, and we were both the only people in the building that like cared about our physical health and then also financial health and mental health. And he was a few years younger than me, so it was pretty cool. I felt like his big brother. I was helping him learn about some stuff and about finances and this and that. And then I was like, he's like, we're different. And I was like, yeah, we're an effing anomaly. And he's like, what does that mean? And I'm like, I think it means what I think it means. So I literally like Google searched it, and it says anomaly, what deviates what is expected from normal society, something along those lines. And as soon as she said it, I was like, oh yeah, that's it.
Nice.
That's it. And then so yeah, so then I just carried that, and it's anomaly coaching. And then it just, people who care about their physical health, who care about their mental health, they're different than 99% of society.
That's fantastic. So when you first get a client, you decide with the client that you have a good fit, what's the first thing? What's like one of the first things that you tell them?
Well, I tell them that they're going to have to work out. And like whether they're, so I have like a mindset level and then a fitness nutrition level, but they each contain fitness, because for me, that's what started everything to change in my life. That's what started my physical health and my mental health and my self-development in general. I believe anybody who's on a self-development path should get physically active in whatever way works for them. I like to push ourselves a little more than we believe, because sometimes we don't believe until we start achieving, right? It's not like if you believe it, you can achieve it. Sometimes you have to start doing it, and then you can start believing in yourself more. So I tell them, hey, like, how many days a week can you work out? And some of them are like, well, I don't really want to work out. And I'm like, then I'm not your guy. That's just that's the foundation for me, because now I use the gym and I use my workouts a lot of times to address and quote unquote figure out things that I'm thinking about, or that whether it's if I'm feeling down or depressed, or if I want to get just in an elevated frequency, or if I'm thinking about my family, something I'm trying to figure out, even if it's nothing bad, maybe I'm just planning something for like the weekend. I go in there and I get in a rhythm, and my mind just can go clear. And then it's like, oh, there's the answer. So it's like the runner's high. You've experienced that clearly.
Oh,
you can get that while lifting weights. You can get that while walking. You can get that while hiking. I believe it's just your body getting physically active, and you're getting more oxygen into your system, into your blood vessels. Your heart's pumping. And then magically you might get an answer, or you might just feel better because of the dopamine and serotonin that come from the physical activity.
That's exactly it. There's been numerous studies on the elevation in mood strictly by working out and just moving your body and getting blood and getting a lactate flush.
Yeah,
is basically what it is. Lactate can be, not usually, but it can be somewhat of a reaction that can bring you down a little bit.
right.
And if you've got depression already, then that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. So get them working out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what's the next step?
Next step is we're going to try getting their nutrition and their diet to fuel their body and not just be filling their body. Because most of the time, what people are eating, especially if they're very overweight or obese, is it's just processed filler junk. Now, not to say that I never eat that stuff. Like sometimes I have a bagel or tortilla or bread. That's some of my carb intake. But as far as the Little Debbie, I don't really have that anymore. The cookies, I don't really have that anymore. Once in a while, I'll treat myself. But I want them, I'm like, give me 3 days of you not eating any of that stuff, and I bet you'll start to feel different and think differently. I think it's been proven, but I'm not going to say it has. But like, it literally affects the way you think and you feel because of it's not real. It's you don't want to call it junk food because it's not food. It's just junk. So that's the next step, is try to get their nutrition aligned to fuel their body, not just fill their body, aligned with their goals for whatever, whether they're trying to just elongate their health or to get in better physical shape.
I had an episode a couple episodes ago. Her name is Pam Sherman. She's a lifelong physical trainer. And she said that processed food, it's not food. It's not food that you actually have. It's food that you rent because it's empty calories.
Yeah.
I thought that was profound.
Yeah.
So if you eat McDonald's or Little Debbie's or whatever, you're renting that food because
Yeah.
it's such empty calories. You're renting it until it goes out, and then and it
Mhm.
leaves you, and that's it. It leaves you with nothing. That's
Right.
like renting. Whereas real whole food, you're actually utilizing. So it's all nutrition based.
Right.
So yeah, wow.
Yeah.
It seems how things come back.
Yeah.
So that's great. So so you've got somebody they've gotten clean and they're working out.
Yeah. Next is if they're more into the mindset stuff, then we have like daily non-negotiables / habits that I would like them to check off each day.
Perfect.
For me, it's like I said, my morning quote unquote routine. Wake up, hydrate, because you're dehydrated when you wake up, and you're also under-oxidated. That's why nobody wakes up like smiling and excited, because you haven't been breathing deep all night, so you don't have enough oxidation in your bloodstream in your body. So wake up, drink some water, and then I do like a little breathing routine. It's just 4 in, hold for 4, 4 out. Pretty simple. Everybody seems to be able to do that, even though at first it's like, this is weird. And you're counting, and then you mess up your breathing. It's just like, keep doing it, and you'll get it eventually. And then gratitude comes after that. I think Tony Robbins says it, but you can't be in a state of anger and gratitude at the same time. So why not start your day that way? And like, when I started gratitude, it wasn't easy because I was that super angry person. I'm like, what do I have to be grateful for? And literally, I'm driving to work at the time, and it's like, oh, I'm grateful for this paved road I'm driving on. I'm grateful for the stoplights. Like, it was little things. I had to start real small. And now I'm grateful for my health, my family's health, the abundance that surrounds me, all my positive energy and thoughts. And it gets deeper like that. So I asked them to do gratitude in the morning for 3 different things, and then in the evening for 3 different things, like before bed. And then, let's see, water, breathing, gratitude, and then physical exercise. So let's get that. And then there's journaling in there, but we don't journal, or I don't like to journal about like, this is what I want, or this is what I'm hoping for. I want to journal on like, where do I think I missed yesterday? Or where do I think I missed last week? What can I do better? Where can I make some adjustments? And that's how I said my relationship with God is a little different. I believe my conscience is God speaking to me. And I just like to, once in a while, I don't get quiet a lot because I just like being active and in action. But sometimes you got to listen to that mind, that conscience of yours, and see like, okay, what can I do better? Is there any adjustments I need to make? Is everything aligning the way I want it to? I'm real big on like your actions and habits. We're habitual creatures anyway. Most of us just have habits that aren't leading us to a person that we actually want to be, or that we should be. And it's all about, I make them think a lot about being the example to the people that you love, whether it's children, spouse, brother, sister, family of some sort, friends, community. You got to be the example that you would want them to look up to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Those are some great steps. Usually I walk through at the very end and I go, okay, hey, let's take some takeaways, but I think you just did them for us.
Yeah.
So I think that's perfect. I want to touch on one other thing before we bring this to an end.
Sure.
You have mentioned it more than once on frequency.
Yeah.
And I am not as familiar with that. I've heard it bringing up in several other podcasts and stuff, but I haven't really paid attention to it. So can you expound on that for us?
Yeah. So what I believe frequency is like your whole state as a being at the time. Like before we got on this podcast, I was over here doing 50 push-ups just to like raise my energy. It's raising your mental energy, your physical energy, and it's hard to put into words, and it's not like you see it, but sometimes you can feel when you're close to somebody, like they almost feel powerful, or they're like radiating positivity. That's what I mean. We all have high frequency and low frequency states. When you wake up in the morning, it's probably low frequency, as I said, because of the oxygen and dehydration and all that. That's why getting into action early is important. I believe the best way to get in a higher frequency state is doing physical performance, because you're like, oh, I don't really want to do these push-ups right now. But then you start doing them and you get them done and you're like, damn, I feel good. I just knocked out 20 push-ups. I'm breathing hard. I feel good. My muscles are tight. And then you're like, oh, wow, cool. Like, what else can I do? And then that's a good time to go into like, let's start thinking, or let's read something that we can pull something from. I'm big on self-development books or certain autobiographies. So that's what I mean by higher frequency. Sorry, start rambling.
Oh no, that's what we're here for. The more you ramble, the more great those nuggets that we get. So
Yeah.
hey, go for it.
Yeah.
No, but wow. This has been an amazing journey that you've taken us through, and I really appreciate it more than you can possibly imagine. Let me ask you one more question. As far as any resources that you use on a daily basis, whether they're physical or digital, or maybe it's an app, what is like your favorite resource that you use on a daily basis?
Well, since it all started with it, I got to say podcasts.
Okay.
I'm real big on like, what are you feeding yourself, but not actually literally feeding yourself, but what are you mentally feeding yourself? What are you listening to? If like, I don't know if people still watch the news. If they're doing, that's probably not too great for you, because I've seen the news channels. I don't watch them. I haven't in years, but I know what they're putting out there, and it's just the same stuff. And it seems like a lot of negativity. So stuff like that, or if you're always listening to this bad thing going on, that bad thing going on, you think about it. And I believe our thoughts bring whatever we're thinking about to us. And it's also how you're thinking about it. Actually, it was in this book I was reading today. The book I'm reading is called The Power, or The Secret of the Power. It's after the book The Secret.
Okay.
Which is all about like manifesting and
right.
things like that. And it said in there that when you think about things that are positive, they're usually about love and joy. And when you think about things that are negative, they're usually about lack and despair. And so that's what you're bringing. So you might think about, oh, look at those pair of shoes. They're so nice, but I probably can't afford them. Well, guess what? You're going to keep seeing shoes or something that you can't afford. Instead, you could look at it and be like, those are a beautiful pair of shoes. I can't wait to have something like that one day. And then you might attract that pair of shoes or something even better.
Yeah, law of attraction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's podcasts. And then what podcasts are you listening to? I listen to a lot that are self-development based, and ones that my favorite interviewer, if you don't mind me saying, is Tom Bilyeu from Impact Theory. He did Quest Brands. To me, the way he asks questions and he's like really inquisitive, and he brings great guests on. That's one great one to look at. And then anything that has Eric Thomas speeches or Tony Robbins, even Jim Rohn, like I listen to a lot of those. And I'll show you real quick because I have this on my desk right here. This right here is my favorite book ever. Okay. Don't Give Up, Don't Give In by Louis Zamperini. He was a World War II veteran. And before that, he was an Olympian, a track Olympian. So you might like that. And I think that there's actually been 1 or 2 movies made by him, and made about him. Angelina Jolie made one called Unbroken. So it's called Don't Give Up, Don't Give In. And that's what his whole life is about. He went through World War II and prisoner of war and just crazy stuff dealing with that. And then he got lost at sea. It's an incredible book about resilience. So if anybody's ever feeling down, I've listened to it probably 4 or 5 times. I've read it 3 times. I've given out the book. Don't Give Up, Don't Give In by Louis Zamperini. That can help pick you up.
Excellent. Don't give up. Don't give in. Yeah. Louis Zamperini. That's awesome. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and link that in the show notes. So Luke, just one last question is, if anybody is interested in chatting with you a little bit more, what's the best place that they can find you?
Yeah, that'd be the website, anomalycoaching.com, or they can find me on Instagram at anomalyluke and just send me a DM. Or if you just want to be motivated and inspired, I try to do that daily.
Awesome. So all those links will be linked in the show notes. So just check out the show notes and there will be the links. Hey, Luke, man, this has been a great episode, and I am so freaking psyched to get it out there and publish it for everybody. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. I'm so glad that you had me on. I'm honored. I'm humbled, and I hope some people get something from it to lift them up a little bit. And my last word of advice is just take action. A lot of us think too much, and that creates fear and anxiety, and then we don't move and we sit in that self-doubt. Depression comes in. If you take action, I'm telling you, you'll feel better. You'll start to believe in yourself, and then you'll start thinking more clearly.
Excellent. Well, you heard it here. Take action. We talk about all these little nuggets Now, you know what? Find one in one of these episodes if it's not Luke's, and go ahead and take that action, just like Luke said. So thanks again, Luke. I appreciate it. And for all those out there, thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Life Changing Challengers, and I will see you on the next one. Well, that wraps up another episode of Life Changing Challengers. I'm your host, Brad Minus, saying thank you for joining us on this journey of transformation. If today's stories inspired you, please take a moment to review, share, and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us reach more listeners and create an even bigger impact. Remember, every challenge is a chance to grow. Until next time, keep pushing, keep challenging, and never stop pursuing your extraordinary.